Good morning, everyone. Let me start by telling you a story. A friend of mine, Alex, once said, "I just need a little more time." He said this every week about starting his business, about getting healthy, about reconnecting with family. But days turned into months, months into years. And then one day, without warning, Alex's father passed away. Suddenly, there was no more time left for the conversations they had postponed. That's when it hit him. We don't need more time. We need to use the time we already have. Today, I want to share with you 6 powerful shifts you can make, starting now, to stop wasting your time and start living fully. Every day, we are flooded with demands that feel immediate. The endless pings from our phones, the relentless tide of emails marked urgent, the persistent drumbeat of deadlines that seem non-negotiable. We are taught, almost without realizing it, that the person who moves the fastest, who responds the quickest, who hustles the hardest, wins. We praise urgency as if it were a virtue, as if responding at lightning speed were a sign of intelligence and leadership. But urgency is often nothing more than noise, a distraction cleverly disguised as importance. And if we allow urgency to set our priorities, we will wake up one day and realize we have been very busy doing absolutely nothing that matters. Urgency is loud. It demands your attention. It comes at you with flashing lights and blaring sirens. Importance, on the other hand, is quiet. It waits patiently. It doesn't clamor for your focus. It trusts you to seek it out. The tragedy is, most people never hear the whisper of what's truly important, because they are so busy dancing to the deafening drums of what's merely urgent. They race through life, checking boxes, answering emails, attending meetings, and all the while, the most meaningful opportunities slip quietly past them, unnoticed and unexplored. Imagine you are standing in a vast field. In one direction there is a bonfire raging, its flames crackling, its heat undeniable. It demands your attention. In the other direction, there's a tiny seed buried in the soil, barely visible, silently reaching for the light. The fire looks urgent. It feels like something you must deal with right now. But the fire is fleeting. It will burn out and leave nothing but ash. The seed, however, holds the promise of a forest, if only you would tend to it. Every day, you are given a choice: chase the fire or nurture the seed. When Jeff Bezos set out to build Amazon, he didn't just react to the urgent demands of the moment. He didn't chase every new trend or pivot with every shifting wind. Instead, he asked a profoundly important question: what is it? He realized that 10 years from now, customers would still want lower prices. They would still want faster delivery. They would still want a broader selection. So he built Amazon around these certainties, these quiet truths, not the loud, urgent noise of the day, the whisper of enduring importance. Think about that for a moment. What if every morning, instead of diving headfirst into your inbox or reacting to the loudest voice in the room, you paused and asked yourself, what is the one thing I could do today that would matter a year from now? One thing, not 100, not even 5, just one. Because greatness is not built in a frenzy. It is built one deliberate act at a time. The people who change the world aren't the ones who answer every call and attend every meeting. They are the ones who dare to slow down long enough to hear what's actually important. And then they have the courage to honor it with their focus. The danger is that urgency feels good. It gives us the illusion of productivity. It's a quick hit of adrenaline. It makes us feel needed, valued, indispensable. But feeling busy is not the same as being effective. Responding quickly is not the same as responding wisely. We must break the addiction to urgency and choose instead the discipline of importance. It's harder, it's quieter, it requires intention, but it is the only path to a life and a legacy that actually means something. And let's be honest, urgency will always be there waiting for you. The fires will still be burning. The emails will still be piling up. You are not going to run out of urgent things to do. But the window to focus on what is important is finite. It is fragile. If you waste it, you don't get it back. Every day that you choose the urgent over the important is a day that you will never reclaim. Building something that lasts, whether it's a company, a career, a relationship, or a life of meaning, requires you to be stubborn about your priorities. It demands that you protect your time and your energy as fiercely as you would protect something precious. Because it is precious. Your life is precious. Your impact is precious. And it will not be forged in the fires of urgency. It will be grown, slowly and deliberately, by choosing the important again and again. So when the phone rings, and the inbox overflows, and the world demands that you move faster and faster, dare to be different. Dare to move slower, but with more purpose. Dare to tune out the noise, so you can hear the whisper. Dare to ask yourself every morning, what is the one thing I could do today that would matter a year from now? And then with unwavering focus, go do that. It will feel uncomfortable at first. It will feel like you are letting people down. It will feel like you are missing. But over time, you will realize you are not missing out on anything that matters. You are in fact, building something few people ever build. A life driven not by urgency, but by purpose. A life that doesn't just respond to the world, but a life that when you look back, you will be proud of, not because you did everything but because you did the right things. Urgency screams, importance whispers. Listen to the whisper. It is the sound of your best future calling. Imagine standing at the edge of a field filled with 100 different paths. Each one calls your name, promising adventure, excitement, opportunities. Every step you take down one path is a step away from 99 others. And yet, how often do we find ourselves sprinting in every direction at once, desperate not to miss anything, afraid of disappointing anyone? In our fear of missing out, we say yes. Yes to every invitation, yes to every project, yes to every request, until we are so fractured, so divided, that there's almost nothing left of us. We become a ghost of our own potential. Every yes we give away so easily is a silent theft from ourselves. It's a little chip off our energy, a little crack in our passion, a little erosion of our clarity. It's not just time we are giving away, it's life. It's the very essence of who we are and what we could become. And if we keep saying yes to everything, we are, without realizing it, saying no to the one thing that truly matters, our own greatness. Warren Buffett, a man who could have said yes to almost anything, and still been successful, once shared the real secret to his unmatched accomplishment. When asked how he achieved so much, he said, "For every 100 opportunities that are presented to me, I say no 99 times. Let that sink in. 99 times out of 100, he protects his focus, guards his energy, shields his mission. Not because the other opportunities weren't good, not because they weren't tempting, but because he understood something most of us forget. Saying yes to one thing is saying no to everything else. Focus isn't just about what you chase. It's about what you are willing to turn away from. We live in a world that glamorizes busyness. It tells us that the more packed our calendar is, the more important we must be. That the more people we can please, the more valuable we are. That exhaustion is a badge of honor. But here's the truth no one tells you. Every time you dilute your focus, you dilute your power. Every time you agree to something that doesn't align with your purpose, you build a life that's a little less your own. You become a participant in everyone else's dreams, while yours wither from neglect. The people who leave a mark on the world, the ones whose stories we tell, whose lives we admire, they were not the ones who said yes to everything. They were the ones who were brave enough to say no, brave enough to disappoint others, to remain true to themselves, brave enough to narrow their field of vision until only what truly mattered remained. They understood that focus is not a limitation, it is a liberation. Focus is what frees you from the noise, so you can finally hear your own voice. Every invitation you accept, every favor you agree to, every meeting you attend, it's a trade, and like any trade, you must ask yourself, what am I giving up for this? Because the most dangerous thing about saying yes isn't the time you lose, it's the life you never build, because you were too busy living everyone else's. When we say yes to every distraction, we say no to our own transformation. Picture your greatness like a roaring fire. Every yes that doesn't align with your true mission is like tossing a bucket of water on that fire. Maybe one small bucket doesn't extinguish it completely. Maybe 2 or 3 just make it sputter. But after a while, after enough compromises, enough distractions, the fire dies, and all that's left are ashes of what could have been. The most revolutionary act in a world that demands your constant attention is to guard your focus like it's sacred. Because it is. It's the birthplace of your best ideas, your truest work, your deepest joy. It's where you find the thing only you can bring into this world. And that's not something you should ever trade lightly. Think about it. Your greatness will be determined far more by what you decline than by what you accept. Anyone can say yes. It's easy to please. It's easy to accommodate. It's easy to be agreeable. But it takes courage to say no. It takes vision to say no. It takes self-respect to say no. And yet when you say no to the wrong things, you are really saying yes. Yes to your future. Yes to your purpose. Yes to your best life. No is not a rejection. No is a declaration. No is saying I know what I'm building, and I won't be distracted. No is an affirmation of your mission, a boundary that protects your destiny. You were not put here to be everything to everyone. You were put here to be something extraordinary to someone. To do that, you must be willing to close doors, to walk away from good opportunities, so you can be available for the great ones. You must be willing to be misunderstood, even disliked, because you chose to honor the calling within you over the clamor around you. You are not selfish for guarding your time. You are not rude for protecting your energy. You are not arrogant for knowing your worth. You are simply choosing to live your life by design, instead of default. You are choosing to build a legacy that is intentional, not accidental. So the next time a request comes in, a favor is asked, an opportunity is offered, stop and breathe. Ask yourself, does this move me closer to my purpose or pull me further away? And if the answer is not a resounding yes, then it must be a no, not because you don't care, but because you care too much about your purpose, your passion, your one and only life. The world doesn't need another burnt-out, distracted, half-hearted person agreeing to things out of guilt or fear. The world needs you at your strongest. It needs you fully alive, fiercely focused, unapologetically dedicated to your mission. And that version of you will only emerge when you have the courage to stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes only to what sets your soul on fire. Your life is far too precious to be spent living someone else's script. Take the pen back, say no more often, and write a story that's worth reading. Every day we convince ourselves that tomorrow will be different, that maybe tomorrow the skies will clear, the doubts will quiet, and the road ahead will finally feel smooth enough to begin. We fall into this hypnotic trance, believing that the universe will somehow tap us on the shoulder when everything is perfectly aligned, signaling that now is the time to act. But the truth is that tap never comes. It's the most seductive lie we tell ourselves, that conditions have to be perfect before we begin. There is no perfect weather, no perfectly stable economy, no mind perfectly at peace. Waiting for those things is like waiting for the ocean to stop moving before you dare to swim. Life is movement, it's chaos, it's unpredictability, and the longer we stand still, waiting for certainty, the more we drift further from what we're meant to create. Clarity does not descend upon us like a blessing from above. It is not a gift for the passive. It is a reward for the brave. It's earned through action, through stepping forward into the unknown even when every fiber of your being is screaming for you to turn back. If you wait for clarity, you'll wait forever, because clarity is not a prerequisite to action. It is the consequence of. Every great story you admire was born not in certainty, but in risk. Think about Sarah Blakely. She didn't have a grand business degree. She didn't have a room full of advisors whispering market strategies in her ear. She had $5,000, a simple idea, and a mountain of uncertainty. She had more reasons not to start than reasons to start. But she chose action over perfection. She chose movement over waiting. And from that messy, uncertain beginning, she built Spanx into a billion-dollar empire. Not because she had all the answers, but because she decided to move without them. It's easy to romanticize success when you're standing on the outside looking in. It's tempting to believe that those who made it knew exactly what they were doing, that they had some secret map. But the reality is much less glamorous and far more empowering. They were just as scared, just as unsure, just as underprepared. The difference is, they started anyway. The people who build the future aren't the ones who wait for perfect conditions. They are the ones who realize that the conditions will never be perfect, and that the cost of waiting is far greater than the risk of starting. They understand that momentum is a precious and fragile thing, and that even a small step forward, even a clumsy one, can build a force strong enough to move mountains. Action creates clarity. You don't think your way into clarity. You act your way into it. The first step you take will teach you more than 1,000 hours of debate in your own mind. Movement breeds momentum. It transforms inertia into energy, doubt into determination. It's like striking a match. The smallest spark can start a fire that will light your way forward. But the fire doesn't come from waiting. It doesn't come from wishing. It comes from doing, from making a decision that you will no longer be a prisoner of your own perfectionism, that you will no longer outsource your destiny to the perfect weather, the perfect mindset, the perfect economy. It comes from the messy, beautiful courage to say, I am scared, I am uncertain, I am not ready, and I am starting anyway. Because deep down you know the truth. You know that if you wait for confidence, you'll be waiting forever. Confidence is not a starting point, it's a result. It's what happens after you've taken the leaps, stumbled through the failures, and proven to yourself that you are far more capable than you ever gave yourself credit for. Every moment you hesitate, every moment you tell yourself not yet, you are handing away the one thing you can never get back: time. And time is not neutral. It either serves you or it erodes you. It either becomes the foundation of your dreams or the graveyard of your potential. You are not meant to live in the waiting room of life. You are not meant to wait for permission, the certainty for some grand signal that now is the time. Now is always the time. The sooner you accept that there will never be perfect conditions, the sooner you will find the freedom to build the life you were born to live. And yes, it will be messy. It will be imperfect. You will make mistakes. You will feel lost. But that is not failure, that is growth. That is the raw material of greatness. Every stumble teaches you something you could never have learned standing still. Every wrong turn sharpens your instincts for the right one. Sarah Blakely didn't build Spanx because she waited for her doubts to disappear. She built it because she was willing to move while carrying those doubts with her. She built it because she understood that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. And so I ask you, what matters more to you? The comfort of standing still, or the thrill of becoming who you were meant to be? The perfect time isn't coming. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. The perfect time is a myth we cling to, because it protects us from the discomfort of risks. But in that protection, we slowly suffocate our own potential. So stop waiting for the right moment. It's already here. It's in the messy, unpredictable, glorious chaos of today. Start now, scared, uncertain, messy. Start without knowing all the answers. Start without a map. Just start, because the act of starting changes you. It reshapes your identity from someone who waits into someone who acts. And when you become someone who acts, the world responds. Doors open. Opportunities emerge. Momentum builds. And the future you've been waiting for doesn't just arrive. You create it. We live in a world where being busy has become the gold standard for feeling valuable. We proudly announce how packed our calendars are, how little sleep we're getting, how many emails we've responded to before breakfast. Somewhere along the line, busy became synonymous with important. But if we take a breath, step back, and really think about it, busyness isn't progress. It's motion without meaning. It's energy without direction. It's possible to sprint at full speed and end up even further from where you're meant to be. I remember working with a company that wore its busyness like a badge of honor. The team was exhausted but proud. 70-hour weeks, late nights, endless meetings. From the outside it looked like dedication. From the inside it felt like chaos. But despite all that effort, their revenue was declining. Their leaders were frustrated. Morale was low. People started pointing fingers. They kept saying, "We're doing everything we can." But were they? Or were they just doing everything without stopping to ask if it mattered? So we started asking uncomfortable questions. Questions like, why are we doing this project? What is the real purpose of these meetings? Are these 70 hours moving us closer to where we actually want to go? And what we found was shocking. Most of their energy wasn't spent on doing the work that mattered. It was spent talking about the work, planning, debating, scheduling, rescheduling. They had become masters at activity, but amateurs at progress. It's so easy to fall into that trap. We feel a deep sense of urgency, and we mistake that feeling for effectiveness. We fill our days with tasks, and checklists, and meetings, thinking that sheer volume of activity will somehow produce results. But it's like digging a hole in the wrong place. You can dig furiously, sweat dripping from your forehead, your muscles burning with effort. But if you're digging where there's no treasure, all you're doing is exhausting yourself. Or think about climbing a mountain. Imagine you spend years training, climbing, struggling toward the peak, only to realize too late that you picked the wrong mountain, that the view you wanted was somewhere else entirely. The tragedy isn't just the wasted effort. It's the realization that somewhere along the way you stopped asking the right questions. You stopped checking your compass. You became so focused on being busy that you forgot to make sure you were busy doing the right thing. The truth is, busyness feels good because it shields us from harder questions. It gives us an excuse. It lets us say, I don't have time to think about my real goals. Look how full my calendar is. It numbs us to the deeper anxiety that maybe, just maybe, we're running in circles. It gives us something to point to, even when we're afraid we're lost. But real progress demands more of us. It demands we slow down, just long enough to ask, Am I moving toward what truly matters? It demands that we strip away the comfort of busyness and sit with the discomfort of uncertainty. It demands that we replace the question, how busy am I, with the question, how far have I moved toward my real goal? Imagine a different kind of pride. Not pride in how busy you are, but pride in how intentional you are. Pride in the clarity of your purpose. Pride in the discipline it takes to say no to things that don't matter. Pride in the courage it takes to stop and change course when you realize you're climbing the wrong mountain. Imagine waking up each morning and instead of checking how full your calendar is, checking how full your heart is with the mission you've chosen. Imagine measuring your days not by how many meetings you attended, but by how much closer you move to the impact you want to make. Imagine freeing yourself from the prison of constant activity and stepping into the freedom of focused, meaningful action. There's a quiet power in that kind of living, a power that doesn't need to shout about how busy it is, a power that isn't measured by hustle, but by harmony between action and purpose, a power that doesn't burn out but burns brighter over time. When we stop measuring progress by busyness, we reclaim the ability to dream bigger, because busy minds have no time for bold dreams. They're too caught up in the next meeting, the next email, the next deadline. But purposeful minds that are clear, focused, aligned, those minds can imagine a future worth chasing. They can see mountains worth climbing. They can dig holes in exactly the right places, uncovering treasure instead of exhaustion. So the next time you find yourself racing through your day, wearing your busyness like armor, stop, just for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, am I proud of how busy I am? Or am I proud of how intentional I am? One will leave you empty, the other will fill you with a sense of meaning that no full calendar can ever match. Because in the end, no one will remember how busy you were. They'll remember what you built. They'll remember what you stood for. They'll remember how you made them feel. And none of that comes from being the busiest. It comes from being the most purposeful. It comes from moving steadily, courageously, toward a real goal, even when the world tries to pull you in 1,000 other directions. Progress is not the number of steps you take. It's the direction you're heading. It's the reason you keep walking. It's the clarity of your why, not the quantity of your what. And when you live like that, you don't just make progress. You make a difference. We live in a culture that celebrates the lone wolf, the one who supposedly clawed their way to the top without anyone's help. We hear about the self-made millionaire, the genius who locked themselves away and emerged with brilliance. We hear the myth so often it starts to feel like a truth we must live up to. We measure our worth by how much we can endure alone, how much we can build alone, how far we can go without ever asking for a hand. But the truth, the real truth, the one that sits quietly behind every great story, is that no one does it alone. Every remarkable achievement you admire is woven through with the threads of connection. Behind every moment of triumph, there were hands reaching out, lifting up, steadying the fall. Behind every so-called self-made person, there is a village, a team, a tribe, even if the spotlight is only big enough to illuminate one name. Take Steve Jobs, a name so synonymous with innovation and genius that it almost feels untouchable. But would there be an Apple as we know it without Steve Wozniak? Without the brilliant mind that brought Jobs' wild visions into tangible form? Wozniak wasn't just a technical partner. He was a vital piece of the dream. And Jobs knew it, whether he said it often or not. His story, like so many others, is a story of partnership, of collaboration, of connection. Or consider Oprah Winfrey, a woman whose very name conjures images of strength, wisdom, and resilience. But even Oprah, with all her towering success, found herself guided, mentored, and nurtured by the late Maya Angelou. She didn't reach the heights she reached because she was too proud to lean on someone else. She rose because she understood the power of learning from those who walked before her, the wisdom of standing on the shoulders of giants. Even the stories that exist in the realm of fiction, the ones we turn to for escape, for inspiration, reveal the same pattern. Superheroes rarely go it alone. Batman had Robin, the Avengers are a team, the Justice League, a gathering of powerful individuals who are stronger together than they could ever be apart. The story we want to believe is about the solo savior, the lone warrior. That the story we need to believe, the one that actually serves us, is the one where connection creates strength. And yet too many of us are still choosing isolation. We are still believing the lie that needing help is weakness, that seeking collaboration is somehow admitting defeat. We isolate ourselves, not because we want to, but because we have been taught that pride demands it. That if we are truly worthy, we will figure it out on our own. And so we suffer in silence. We build in silence, we struggle in silence, thinking that this is the cost of greatness. But the cost is too high. The shift we must make is not a small one. It's a radical reimagining of how we view success. It's an acknowledgement that pride is not found in isolation, but in the courage to reach out and build something bigger than ourselves. To stop waiting for someone to notice we're drowning, and instead shout out for a lifeline. To stop hiding our dreams in the shadows and start sharing them with those who can help breathe them into life. Finding your people is not just a strategy, it's a necessity. It's not about collecting contacts or building a network you can name drop later. It's about finding the ones who see your vision and say, I believe in you. The ones who will challenge you when you need it, support you when you falter, and celebrate you when you ride. It's about building a circle that isn't just there for the wins, but also for the nights when you want to give up, the mornings when the dream feels too heavy to carry alone. Success is a team sport. It always has been, and it always will be. The sooner we release the romantic notion of the solitary genius, the sooner we give ourselves permission to truly succeed. Because when we link arms with others, when we collaborate, when we mentor, when we encourage, we don't just create better work, we create better lives. Lives filled with meaning, with shared victories, with relationships that matter more than any single achievement ever could. And the beautiful, brutal truth is, you are not meant to do this alone. You were never meant to carry your dreams in isolation, to climb mountains without a rope team, to wage battles without an army of supporters behind you. You were designed for connection, built for community. The myth of the self-made person is a heavy burden to carry. But the moment you set it down, the moment you embrace the idea that your greatest strength is found in your ability to connect, everything begins to shift. The world changes when we stop pretending that we have to be everything for ourselves, when we admit that we need each other, when we allow ourselves to be lifted, to be taught, to be inspired by those around us, when we find our people and build circles of trust, of belief, of shared purpose. So stop doing it alone. Not because you're not capable, not because you're not strong enough, but because you are capable enough and strong enough to know that greatness was never meant to be a solitary pursuit. Because you are wise enough to understand that your dream, your mission, your life, will be fuller, richer, and far more powerful when it is interwoven with the lives of others. Find your people, build your circle, dream together, struggle together, win together. That's where real success lives. And it's waiting for you, just beyond the myth of doing it alone. Everywhere you look, there's a quiet force trying to shape you. It starts early before you even realize what's happening. You're handed dreams like prescriptions, told which ones are safe, which ones will guarantee you love, approval, and a measure of success that others will recognize. You're celebrated not for who you are, but for how well you play the part you've been assigned. Parents, teachers, friends, society, they all mean well, but without realizing it, they pass down dreams like heirlooms, expecting you to treasure them as your own. You grow up thinking you want to be a doctor, because your father said that was the highest form of service. You dream of a six-figure salary because every commercial, every success story you hear links happiness to money. You fantasize about traveling the world because your feed is filled with sun-drenched beaches and mountaintop selfies captioned with "living my best life." You start to believe those dreams are yours, but deep down, a small persistent voice keeps whispering, is this really what you want? There's a man whose story echoes louder than any motivational speech or self-help book. His name is Bronnie Ware, and he spent years working in palliative care, sitting beside those who had only weeks left to live. When he listened to them, really listened, he heard something tragic, something that shook him to his core. The number one regret of the dying wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't even about the mistakes they made. It was about the life they didn't live. Again and again, he heard them say, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Think about that for a moment. When life was stripped down to its final moments, when there were no more promotions to chase, no more status to earn, no more expectations left to meet, the only thing that mattered was whether or not they had been true to themselves. And for most, the answer was they had lived someone else's dream. They had spent their one precious life trying to fulfill someone else's hopes, someone else's standards. They had betrayed themselves without even knowing it. We tell ourselves we'll fix it later. After the next promotion, after the kids are grown, after retirement. We convince ourselves there's plenty of time to get around to our dreams, plenty of time to start living on our own terms. But time is not a guarantee, it's a gift. And every moment you spend chasing someone else's vision for your life is a moment you will never get back. Maybe you're sitting here right now feeling a lump in your throat. Maybe there's a dream you buried so deep you almost forgot it existed. Maybe you wanted to paint, to write, to teach, to build, to travel, to stay rooted in one place and grow something beautiful. Maybe your dream wasn't glamorous enough for Instagram or lucrative enough to impress your parents. So you stuffed it down. You told yourself it was silly. You let the world's noise drown out your own voice. But your soul remembers. It always remembers. And it waits. Sometimes it waits quietly. And sometimes it waits with a deep ache you can't explain. It's that restlessness you feel even after achieving everything you were told would make you happy. It's the dissatisfaction that creeps in when you check all the boxes but still feel empty inside. That's your true self, knocking on the door, begging you to listen. You don't need anyone's permission to live your own life. You don't need society's validation. You don't need your parents' approval. You don't even need a road. You only need the courage to choose yourself. To say, this is my life. I am the one who has to live it. I get to decide what it looks like. Choosing your dream isn't easy. It's not a tidy linear path. It means disappointing people sometimes. It means facing fear. The fear of failure, of judgment, of not measuring up. It means stepping off the well-worn trail and forging your own way. But there is a freedom in it that nothing else can match. There is a joy in being fully, unapologetically, you that no amount of external approval can replace. You were not born to live out someone else's idea of success. You were not born to be a carbon copy of someone else's dream. You were born with a unique combination of gifts, passions, and purpose. To deny them is to deny the very reason you are here. You have a choice. Right now, you can continue living on autopilot, ticking off achievements that mean little to your soul. Or you can wake up. You can tune back into that small voice inside you, the one that's been trying to get your attention for years. You can choose to stop waiting for permission and start living for yourself. There will be obstacles. There will be doubts. There will be moments when you wonder if you made a mistake. But there will also be an incredible aliveness, a feeling of rightness that comes from knowing you are finally walking your own path. You will know it when you feel it. That spark of joy, that deep sense of peace that says, this is me, this is my life, this is what I was meant to do. Don't wait until the end of your life to realize you never truly lived. Don't be the one lying in a hospital bed whispering, I wish, when it's too late to do anything about it. Choose yourself now. Choose your dreams now. Choose a life that makes your soul come alive now. Today, you have everything you need to start. You have your heartbeat, your breath, your mind, your spirit. You have the ability to make a different choice. No one can take that from you. You are not trapped. You are not powerless. You are one decision away from stepping into the life that is waiting for you. Live boldly, love deeply, dream relentlessly. Make it your mission not just to exist, but to truly live. Because the world doesn't need another person who simply checks the boxes and fades quietly away. The world needs you. Your voice, your gifts, your light. Don't let fear steal that from you. Don't let expectations bury it. Your life is your message to the world. Make it a message that only you could write. Make it a masterpiece that leaves no room for regret. So if you remember anything from today, remember this. Your time is already running. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. Stop wasting time. Prioritize the important. Say no more often. Start before you're ready. Measure real progress. Build your team. Live your dream. Because the clock isn't waiting. And neither should you. Thank you.